Wild hogs cause a lot of destruction, and researchers estimate around $2.5 billion in agricultural damage each year. And hogs in Texas are thriving.
Texas farmers have tried almost everything to stop millions of wild boars. They hunt them from helicopters, chase them with thermal scopes, poison them, and trap them by the thousands. Yet, the invasion keeps growing.
When you're going in a helicopter 3 to 4 times a week and killing an average of 20 to 30 pigs every time you go, and the crop still gets completely destroyed, like, that's a problem.
Then a handful of ranchers started using one deceptively simple trap that works so differently it can wipe out an entire family group in a single move instead of catching just one pig at a time. The genius is not the steel cage itself. It is the strategy behind it, a method so effective that one wrong move can ruin the entire operation. And once you see how it works, you will understand why it is changing the war. The walking disaster. That kind of destruction is happening right now across hundreds of thousands of acres in Texas. Not from weather, not from machinery, from pigs. Texas is home to roughly 2.6 million wild boars. That population grows by 18 to 21% every single year. And these animals are not staying put. Every year, sounders push their territory northward by nearly 8 miles, ripping into new land that has never dealt with anything like them. The annual damage to Texas farmland is estimated at more than $118 million. And that only covers crops. It does not count collapsed levees, contaminated water, wrecked fencing, or highway collisions. This is not some minor agricultural headache. This is a full-blown invasion, and it started with 2 quiet mistakes made centuries apart. The perfect invader. In 1539, Spanish explorers landed in Florida carrying domestic pigs as a walking food supply. Some escaped into the wilderness, went feral, and survived in modest numbers for centuries. A nuisance, but nothing catastrophic. Then, in the early 1900s, wealthy landowners imported Eurasian wild boars for sport hunting. Bigger, meaner, armored with thick hide, and wired for survival in the wild. The landowners fenced them onto private reserves, but fences mean nothing to these animals. The boars escaped too. And in the wilderness, they found those feral descendants of the Spanish pigs. They bred. And that crossbreeding created something new. The relentless fertility of the domestic pig fused with the size, aggression, and survival instinct of the Eurasian boar. Smart, tough, eats anything, breeds like nothing else its size, and has no natural predator large enough to slow it down. 2 mistakes, 400 years apart, quietly built the perfect invader. But nobody understood how dangerous it was until they looked at the math. Breeding machine. Here is the deal. A female wild boar called a sow can start producing young at just 6 to 8 months old. Her gestation lasts only about 4 months. Her average litter runs 4 to 6 piglets. But when food is plentiful, that number can climb to 10 or even 12. And within a week of weaning one litter, she can be pregnant again. No downtime. She is a continuous production line. Do the math. Under good conditions, a single breeding pair can produce more than 20 offspring in a year. And those offspring start breeding within months of their own birth. It compounds. It explodes. This is why every standard method fails. A rancher can remove 100 boars in a hard season of hunting and trapping, feel like he is winning, and if he leaves just a few breeding females behind, those animals will rebuild the entire population in under 2 years. You are not fighting individuals. You are fighting an exponential curve, and the curve does not care how hard you work. Subscribe now, because the methods farmers tried next backfired in ways that are almost darkly comic, and the genius solution waiting at the end of this story changes everything. Weapons of destruction. The way these animals tear a landscape apart comes down to one thing: the snout. It is a bulldozer blade made of flesh, cartilage, and bone. At its tip sits a plate of tough cartilage reinforced by a prenasal bone that domestic pigs largely lack. Behind it, a column of muscle so powerful a mature boar can lever up rocks, root through packed clay, and flipsod, a grown man would struggle to turn with a shovel. Wildlife biologists who have studied feral swine feeding behavior measured the speed. A single boar can tear up 6 or 7 square feet of ground every minute. Multiply that by a sounder of 20 to 40 animals, and one group can gut an entire field before sunrise. What most people do not realize is that only about 5 to 10% of the damage comes from actually eating the crop. The other 90 to 95% is trampling, rooting, wallowing in irrigation channels until the banks collapse. They are not eating the farm. They are wrecking it on their way to the grubs underneath. So, Texas tried the obvious answer. Every plan failed. Kill the pigs. No closed season on feral hogs. No bag limits. You can hunt them day or night, from a truck, even from a helicopter. But hunters went after the biggest animals, the trophy boars with massive tusks. They ignored the breeding females and the juveniles, the actual engine of the invasion. Kill the trophy boar and leave the sounder of breeding sows, and you have done almost nothing. Then came the bounties. Pay cash for a dead boar. But attach a dollar value to a carcass, and you attach a dollar value to keeping boars alive. State game investigators uncovered people breeding feral hogs in secret pens for a steady supply of carcasses to cash in. A program designed to shrink the herd was feeding the explosion. And the old box traps might have been the worst mistake of all. A farmer sets a small steel cage with a spring-loaded door. One pig wanders in, hits the trigger, the door slams, and the farmer catches one animal while the other 19 or 29 scatter into the dark. Those animals did not just run, they remembered. Feral hogs are among the most intelligent mammals in North America. They learned in one night what that clanging metal box meant, and they taught their young. Within a generation, an entire local population becomes what farmers call trap smart. Animals that will strip corn right up to the open door and refuse to cross. Every failed trap trained the survivors to beat you next time. You were making the enemy smarter with your own hands. And for years, nobody had an answer for that. The mindset shift, until a few of them did. Jake, that rancher in Fayette County losing thousands a season, was one of them. He looked at the grim arithmetic and had a realization that changed everything. He stopped thinking like a hunter. The old mindset measured success one animal at a time. Against an exponential curve, one animal at a time is a rounding error. The new goal was not to kill hogs. The goal was to erase whole family groups so completely that no survivor remained to learn, to remember, or to teach. It started with a camera, a cellular trail camera strapped to a fence post, with a motion sensor and an infrared flash that fires silently in total darkness. Anything moves in front of it, it snaps a photo and beams it straight to the farmer's phone. Suddenly, Jake had eyes on the enemy, without the enemy knowing it was watched. No scent trail, no spooked sounder, just silent, patient intelligence gathering, night after night. Over a week or two, a pattern emerged. Which gap in the tree line the sounder uses to enter, what time they arrive, how many animals travel together, which corner of the field they hit first. And that intelligence reframed the entire problem. The genius trap. The old question was, how do I catch a single boar? The new question was, how do I capture an entire sounder, every single animal in one decisive stroke, so that not one survivor walks away to remember it? The answer was a massive circular corral of heavy steel panels, sometimes 20 or 30 feet across, tall enough that a boar cannot clear it, staked deep enough that they cannot root under it, with a gate designed to hold 30 to 50 animals at once. But here is where the real thinking begins. For the first days, sometimes weeks, the trap is not set to catch anything. The gate stays wide open. Farmers call it pre-baiting, and it works because it turns the boar's own intelligence against it. Every night, the farmer scatters corn, a trail leading to the open gate, more of it spread thick inside the corral. And then the farmer does the hardest thing of all, nothing. Jake felt it every night. One, maybe a curious juvenile edges up to the corn and bolts at the first creak of steel. Night two, a few more come. By night 4 or 5, the dominant sow herself walks all the way inside, eats her fill, and walks back out through that open gate unharmed. She comes back the next night and brings the others. The corral becomes the best feeding spot in the county. Free food, no risk, no consequences. Their natural caution, the same caution that made them trap smart, gets slowly dismantled one easy meal at a time. This phase typically runs 7 to 14 days, and this is where most people fail. They see a dozen hogs feeding inside the corral on night 3, and every instinct screams to spring it. But the operators who hold their nerve, who let the whole sounder grow comfortable, who let the last suspicious old sow finally commit, report better than 90% capture rates. Patience is not a virtue here. It is the entire weapon. The silent trigger. That same cellular camera now feeds a live video signal straight to the farmer's smartphone. Jake is not crouched in the brush holding his breath. He is sitting at his kitchen table watching a screen, counting heads, 14, 16, 19, 20. His thumb hovers over the button, but he does not press it. Are there stragglers still coming through the tree line? He can see them on the feed, dark shapes nosing along the corn trail. He waits. His chest is tight, but his hand stays still. The last piglet trots in behind its mother, and the entire family group is standing inside that circle of steel. Not one animal left outside. And only then, steady as a man who has rehearsed this moment for 2 weeks, he taps the screen. A digital signal crosses the cellular network. A mechanism releases, and the heavy gate drops shut behind all of them at once. No gunshot, no human scent on the wind, no clumsy trigger for a wary sow to notice. The danger came from a screen miles away. To the sounder, capture was incomprehensible. One moment they were eating corn in the safest spot they knew. The next, the door was shut, and there was no lesson to carry back to the others, because there were no others. The sow who could produce 20 offspring a year, her daughters already old enough to breed, the piglets who would have inherited the whole territory. Gone in one silent tap. Jake sat at the table for a long time after the gate fell, the screen still glowing, the field finally quiet. The full campaign. But even a perfect trap runs into a stubborn wall. Boars do not respect property lines. Clear your fields tonight, and a fresh sounder drifts in from a neighbor's woodlot by the weekend. So the smartest operators stopped thinking like individual farms and started thinking like a region. They built text networks where one farmer, who spots a sounder crossing his land, fires off a warning to the farms downwind. Traps get pre-baited in coordination. Nobody's field becomes the safe harbor that keeps the population alive. The full campaign moves in 3 phases. Intelligence first, weeks of silent cameras learning the enemy's habits. Then decimation, big corral traps on the busiest routes, taking whole sounders at a stroke. Then cleanup, survivors hunted down with helicopters and thermal scopes that turn a pitch-black field into a glowing map of body heat. The best remote-triggered operations capture approximately 88% of a targeted population in a single event. Fields that used to lose tens of thousands in one night now lose a fraction of that. For farmers like Jake, that is the difference between keeping the land and losing it. The biology is relentless. Farmers have to remove roughly 2/3 of the boars every single year just to keep the population from growing. Skip a season and it roars back. But the war went from unwinnable to managed, and that changed everything. The secret was never the trap or the camera or the trigger. The secret was combining all of them into one patient, coordinated system that thinks further ahead than the pigs ever can. So, now I am genuinely curious. If it were your land and your livelihood on the line, would you have the patience to leave that trap open for 2 full weeks, watching the pigs eat your corn for free every single night, trusting that the payoff was coming, or would you have cracked and sprung it too early like most people do? Tell me honestly in the comments. And if you learned something tonight, subscribe, because the next system we break down is one almost nobody sees coming.